Sup everyone, I come you with a heavy heart because I'm sure you guys already seen the title. Some of you guys may have a knee-jerk reaction, but I hope you guys can make it towards the end of the video because there's a lot that I want to talk about Cyno. I know the consensus and the general community's opinion of him just isn't that good right now, and I know no matter what I say, no matter how I steer this in the direction of positivity, it's not gonna really convince anybody, because right now the reality that we're faced with is that Cyno as he currently is right now just feels like a character that's difficult to make work, and in most scenarios it just feels like there are better options. And for people who want to say, well, play him for fun, right? Is he fun to play? Yeah. So then where's the problem? And well, I agree with you for the most part, right? Like, because I mean, I'll throw some footage on screen. I beat the Spiral Abyss. I don't know, it wasn't like 36 stars obviously, but with a level 40 Cyno. I myself beat the Abyss with 36. Don't take this out of context, all right? I can clear Abyss 36 stars, but to prove a point, I cleared the Abyss with a team running Cyno at level 40 with talent level 111, and we still beat the Abyss, right? So really, at the end of the day, if you just want to beat the Abyss, like, Cyno is packing more than enough juice to do the task. But right now it seems that the problem most people are having is like, why is a paid character's power level equal to, or in some cases less than that of some free or freely obtainable units that you don't need to pay a dime for, like Kaching, like Fischl, stuff like that, right? Like Fischl is actually a free character at this point. I consider Fischl a free-to-play character. Why is that? Right? Why is his teams difficult to construct? Why do you also find it hard to rotate through his DPS options? There are certain restrictions, such as the duration of his burst skill, that actually gatekeeps a lot of characters from being paired with him, right? Like, if we have certain issues like that, why not give options such as, well, you can cut back and forth between characters while his burst is active and it doesn't remove the burst. Like, that's a very easy fix. Why the active decision to cancel his burst once you switch characters? Like, a lot of these issues compounded together leads us to where we are right now. Now, first things first, Cyno does decent damage. It's not amazing, it's not good, decent. As you guys can see also on screen, I have his weapon. I got his weapon, and today I did do a bit of farming, so I got his weapon leveled up even more. I was fortunate enough to have decent enough Thundering Fury set laying around, but due to the fact that I'm gonna say it, I'm still struggling with the scarabs, man. Like, it's very, very difficult. And I saw the comments in my previous video, and apparently a lot of people are also struggling to look for the scarabs, right? Like, I think at this point, you should just probably go look up a guide. I'm gonna be out here still begging people to let me into their worlds to find the 3 scarabs that I can scour. But really, for Cyno, right now, I am not able to test him at level 80 or level 90, but it's very easy to just scale the numbers up, right? You unlock his second talent, and then you get more crit damage. At the end of the day, it's gonna be like, even if you add another like 100 or 200% damage on this character, he's still going to feel somewhat okay-ish. Right? And that's the worst feeling about this, is even if you scale him up to the point where he should be, he'll still just feel okay-ish. Now, I am somebody who is a hard simp for this kind of fast-paced action playstyle. I personally don't have a problem with him. I think I'll be able to use him in certain scenarios where, you know, Electro is either favored or has a buff, right? I will likely use him over Kaching just because I find his playstyle to be an evolved hybrid version of like Kaching, Zhao, Ito, all mixed into one, incredibly satisfying and fun. But there are just certain caveats about this character that I can't get over with. One of the first thing is, it almost feels like we're forced to bring a shielder, but at the same time, we also need somebody to group enemies. It's such a conflicted situation because right now his hits actually hits hard enough where mobs who are smaller or medium sized gets knocked back by his auto attacks, and not to mention his elemental skill in his burst state also knocks enemies back. So you end up in a situation where a lot of the monsters, kind of like Zhao, gets hit outside of your attack range, and you're just like swiping left and right, and you constantly have to follow through with the character that you're currently attacking, which actually alienates a lot of the enemies that are behind you or all around you. Just makes it it a little more difficult, especially if you already pre-group them with another character like Kazuha. You pre-group them, you pull them all in, and you switch to Cyno, you start attacking, and within a couple hits, everything is kind of spread out again, especially if enemies are ranged and you're not able to kill them in the first few hits, at which it's very difficult for Cyno because he hits very frequently, but not as hard per hit, right? It's just to kind of balance things out. If you hit hard and frequently, that's just broken. For example, Hu Tao hits very hard, but it's not as frequent as other characters. For Cyno's case, it's the exact opposite. He hits very fast, but not as hard per hit. So it makes it very difficult to like one-shot certain mobs. So if you, let's just say, at a higher floor in the Abyss, and they do end up putting more mobs in the chambers, you likely will have to play him with like a solid off-field grouper, which in of itself is not a problem until you take into account that he also 100% must be played with a Dendro character on field. And combine that with the fact that he himself doesn't get enough interruption resistance through his burst. Meaning, like, it's not like a Raiden Shogun, it's not like a Eula or whatever. He actually gets hit around pretty easily, even in his burst state, which is something that I really just don't see a logical reason why that is. Honestly, feel like Hoyoverse should just use the exact same numbers for all the characters that go into their burst state or rely on their burst state to deal damage. At this point, yeah, Zhongli is valuable in preventing damage and preventing stuttering and interruptions, but for the most part, you know, it just feels like it's such a waste if you're running a shield just for that reason. Like, with Cyno, there are so many good ways to pair him with other units, although we don't have a lot of the newer units that we would like to have, such as the Dendro Archon to pair with him. But as it stands now, having somebody to protect him is going to be very, very beneficial and helps with giving out consistent damage. And also at the same time, having somebody who has iridescence and grouping ability, for the most part, is good for Cyno. His bossing capability is not the best. His single target is quite lacking, to be honest with you guys, considering that for the most part in his burst state he's doing AoE damage. His AoE damage is also not the best either. He's like a very overall just neutral character that doesn't have any particular strength. Right now, his reliance to the Dendro element cannot be overstated. To be honest, if you're planning to play Cyno outside of Dendro-centric teams, you might as well just forget it. It's going to be far more difficult if you're trying to make Cyno work outside of Dendro-focused teams, as Hoyoverse has, at this point, pretty much stated that you have to play the game how we want you to play the game. We design characters like this so you can play them optimally like this. It's just what I think, and I think Cyno is an embodiment of that design philosophy, in that they want to steer you in a direction that they feel is going to be either more fun or more interesting or more beneficial to the game's development process. And Cyno, well, yes, he's going to get stronger with time, but other options are also going to receive similar treatment, right? Like Kaching, Fischl will only get better with more and better Dendro characters coming out that are capable of supporting them from off field, which really leaves me at a crossroad at this point. Even the standard banner character Kaching and the free-to-play 4-star character Fischl can compete with a limited time 5-star character. Where does that leave me, or leave you guys, or leave anybody who wants to pull for Cyno? And again, I'll reiterate, yeah, if you're pulling him for fun, you wouldn't care, right? But I'm starting to notice a phenomenon. People are getting worried, saying like, well, with these new 5-stars, these new 4-stars, with exception to the Archons, they all feel so mid. And when people say mid, they mean just not as good as Kazuha. But then again, can you really have a Kazuha tier character drop every other patch for that matter? Not even every patch, every other patch. Is that something, or is that an alternative to what we are currently getting right now that's going to be interesting for you, or that would make you happy? After playing, testing, and just running this character, I see that it's very obvious Hoyoverse came in, put a artificial ceiling on this character, says this character should not exceed this amount of damage dealt in a given time frame. For example, they take 18 seconds and say, okay, if you fully build him, max him up, his damage should not exceed X amount. And then they just limited him in that regards. Because at this point, it honestly feels like if they give him a little more scaling, if they give him a little more stat padding boosts or whatever, he could have done more damage. And I think it always just goes back like damage. But why are we so hung up on damage? It's because damage is required to clear difficult content. If you want to own something, a product that you've purchased or whatever, and you want to feel like that you've spent good money on it, you want your dollar to value ratio to be as high as possible, leaning to low dollar spent, high ratio gain, right? Like for Cyno, honestly, it feels like for every dollar you're spending, you're getting like 0.8. And for reference, Kaching is like a 0.9 or something like that, right? Like it just feels like you're really just tossing money into the abyss to pull for a character that you honestly have to love. I don't regret my decisions pulling for him and building him. In fact, I'm still going to continue building him, pouring more resources into him because I just think he's so damn cool. But for people who are waiting on the silence, for people who came in following the hype thinking that he looks cool, but you also hope he's going to play well, but now he doesn't. I think the only copium we have is waiting for the next patch, Dendro Archon, to come out, and that the Dendro Archon has some sort of tailor-made synergies with someone like Cyno and doesn't really benefit other Electro characters quite exactly the same. Alright, with all that said, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you guys think it's okay for people to pull for characters that are just seemingly underwhelming in comparison to the older ones? And how Hoyoverse continue to develop characters. If you want to check out the topic talking about why characters are so damn niche nowadays, you can leave maybe a link somewhere on here. It's just yesterday's video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in today's live stream where we can talk more about this. And I'm gonna keep trying to build up my Cyno. Hopefully we can get him to a respectable position come the stream. And of course, until then, I urge y'all to stay safe and peace. Bye.